hiring, growing, and keeping a sales team. If you're like most roofing business owners or managers, this is what keeps you up at night. And you're not alone. And that's why I put together this presentation. It's called 9 Steps to Building Your Dream Team. And watching this all the way to the end is going to give you a practical approach to make very quick and very easy adjustments to your hiring and retention process to help you build your dream team. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Adam Bensman, and I'm the founder of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance on a mission to help great roofing companies make an even bigger impact together. If you're not new, welcome back. Let's rock and roll.
Roofing sales is personal development in disguise, and the reward for growth is life-changing. I hope my content helps you create a richer life and bank account.
All right, this presentation, 9 steps to building your dream team. First, let's cover some fundamentals. My estimation is that 2 out of 3 sales reps will quit or get fired in their very first 12 months. And I'm curious to hear from you. Do you think that's higher or lower? Now, if you're like most folks I talk to, they say that number is actually too low. Some people experience turnover higher than that. Now, this failure often begins with the hiring ad itself. And many people try to use this language that they think will lure people in and get them excited. But what is really happening is it's setting them up for failure. Like saying, hey, we offer a flexible schedule that says, I can make 6 figures part-time. And be your own boss means I have no accountability. And commission only means I have 0 stability. And start right away makes you sound really desperate to hire. And then when you talk about selling roofing, it sounds boring and unsexy, quite frankly, because it is. Now, to add insult to injury, much of the training in the roofing space fails to prepare the team for real world scenarios that they're going to face. So when a person that's selling storm damage roofs, I'll touch on in retail in a minute, they knock on a door and a homeowner says something like, hey, you know what? Our insurance company said we're fine. They didn't realize that they had a denied claim and how to even address that. So they skip on to the next house. So these are the true to life scenarios that a sales rep will face. If the person had no claim filed, they're wondering what's going on. What damage are you talking about? They're not aware of it. Or they're like, hey, hurricane hit, help me out here. If there's partial coverage, they agree with the insurance or they're angry. If they have a denial, they agree with the insurance or they're angry. And if the homeowner's sitting on a check, they generally want one thing, which is an estimate. So there are 4 stages and 7 different scenarios. And then for retail, a roof that's getting replaced because of age is at the end of its lifespan, a cosmetic upgrade like a home remodel, they have an active leak or a problem, or they're planning ahead or have a life event. And a couple of the other little things that will nest into this category of planning ahead or a life event could be the insurance company sending them a drop letter. If you don't get your roof replaced, we're going to drop you. Your coverage is going to change. Your insurance coverage is going to change. Or potentially they want to go solar and need a new roof. So that's all kind of under that umbrella. But each of these have different levels of urgency. And where many roofing companies fall short in terms of their training, which is what leads to high turnovers, they're not preparing their team to succeed. They're teaching them like one way to sell a roof, and it doesn't apply in the real world. And many of us, we oversell the opportunity and underprepare our team for the mental and emotional battlefield that is roofing sales. And if you've been in it, you know what I mean. This is the ugly truth that no one talks about, but all of us experience. Things like you're going to hate your job at first. I know that I had a lot of struggles, that you're going to face your darkest inner demons. For me, that was a complete fear of rejection and conflict, that there'll be days that you cannot muster the courage to get out of your own truck and sometimes even your own bed, that you'll compare yourself to everyone else and wonder why you suck so much. I know this happened to me. I share this a little bit in my book. There was a gentleman named Drew that worked for us, and I remember him waltzing into the office with like a stack of contracts, and I'm sitting in there wondering like why I'm such a moron and can't make anything work, and I'm comparing myself to him, and that your motivation is going to dwindle because you haven't tasted success yet, because you were like oversold on all this excitement and opportunity in the ad, and then you go hit the streets and it's not as quick, it's not as easy as I thought. And then I'm tempted to quit because I'm like, man, Like, I could be doing something easier than this. Maybe this isn't for me. And then when you go home at night, your friends and family are going to doubt you and encourage you to get a more stable job, because that's what normal people do. Something that you can count on, the same paycheck over and over again. And the spouse, your spouse or significant other, will begin to question why you're not bringing in the kind of money you were sold on. Honey, you said you could earn 6 figures or multi-6 figures. It's been a month. It's been 2 months. Why isn't this money rolling in? Is this a scam? Is this even legit? So that's why I wrote my book, by the way, The Roofing Sales Survival Guide. It became a #1 bestseller on Amazon. It's turned out to be required reading for many roofing companies. I'm happy to get you a free digital copy. It's available inside my free training center, and there's a link in the description, or you can go to adamsfreestuff.com. That's adamsfreestuff.com, and you'll see why. Now, do your sales reps know that they're going to face this? Because if not, the seed of doubt gets planted, and the spouses at home and the toxic mindset begin to water that seed. And it's only a matter of time until they quit, they underperform, or they get fired. Now, where many people don't calculate this cost, I want to spell this out. And this, I think, is actually quite low on the estimate side. Each rep you lose costs you roughly 20 to 60 hours of time. That's from running the ad, qualifying them, dealing with all the no-shows on interviews, finally onboarding them, doing all the HR paperwork. This might not be your time. This is collective time for your team, equipping them with company gear and software, obviously training them, hand-holding, babysitting, all that stuff. That is a $10,000 to $30,000 loss per person. And again, it depends on the pay grade of who's handling that new hire. But if you're an owner who's earning hundreds of dollars per hour, that's your effective hourly rate, that number is way higher. But on the low end, because I don't want to dramatize this, but on the low end, if you lose just 10 sales reps a year, which many people do with this turnover, that's a $100,000 to $300,000 loss to your business. You're incinerating money. We've all been there. And don't forget about the missed opportunity costs. I look at a sales rep and I see at least a $1 million potential per person if they're equipped and actually working. Now, this turnover destroys culture. The sales reps can start looking around like, why is everyone dropping like flies? Should I even be here? And it destroys lives. There's a gentleman, I share this story as well in my book. He came up to me and says, Adam, if I don't make at least $80,000 this year, I'm going to lose my house. And I remember this was before I quit drinking, I had these powwows with him in his garage. Hey, buddy, you can do it. And I saw what he was capable of. And I kept trying to coach him there, but he wasn't willing to make that leap. He had his own mental blockages. Long and short of it, at the end of the year, he had made a little over $20,000 in commission. He ended up indeed losing his house and getting divorced. And he would have made more money literally at McDonald's flipping burgers. And this turnover, again, destroys the customer experience. You know how when a sales rep quits, you have customers that are in different stages and you're trying to figure out, well, what do I do with, their jobs, and how do I communicate to the customer? And the customer's like, well, what happened to Joe? And you're like, oh, we can't keep anybody. I know, I've been there. So here's a little harsh reality check. No one grows up wanting to be a roofer, and we sell the single most boring thing in the entire world that no one wants to spend their money on. If I gave you a check of $20,000 and said, here's a free bonus money, do whatever you want with this. For most people, it's going to be buying a car, maybe putting a down payment or towards a down payment on a house, paying off debt, going on a baller vacation, remodeling a kitchen, getting a pool, buying an ATV, a lot of other things. But a roof is not high on the list. In fact, it's probably not on the list at all. So the reality is that recruiting is painful. And we have to realize that our candidates, the people that we want to recruit, are shopping around just like our homeowners are. It's cutthroat, it's high stakes, it's high turnover. So how can we retain top talent and get people to want to work for us? Well, that's what we're about to jump into. And that's the 9 steps to build your dream team. And let's rock and roll with step number 1. We need to unite around a mission that's larger than life, not roofing. People don't grow up wanting to be a roofer. It's the single most boring thing. We need to create more meaning. Many roofing companies view themselves as a personal development company that just so happens to do roofing. The type of culture that I have in my business here at RSRA, formerly the Roof Strategist, is I'm in the business of believing in people. Our entire team is rallied around the opportunity to help people have a breakthrough so they believe in themselves. That's ultimately the mission that we are about. And in doing that, when people that share our values feel believed in, therefore they believe in themselves, through self-belief, they accomplish greater things, grow bigger businesses, become more successful because they're tapped in to the people, the resources, and the information they need to grow by collectively sharing winning secrets. And then as a result, that self-belief leads to massive transformation and bigger impact. And for you, you need to decide what that means for your business. Because if you're in the roofing business, that'll only go so far. Many people say, hey, we're in the business of making homeowners happy. We're in the business of being a personal development company that just so happens to sell roofs. So that's entirely up to you, but it has to be larger than life and much bigger than just roofing. We do a lot of charitable work here at RSRA. We support the primary charity that we're supporting, by the way, is called Resilience 1220, and it provides free mental health counseling in the highest suicide risk areas of Colorado for children 12 to 18 years old. And that's a cause that's close to my heart. Our team knows this, and we even support our team through saying, hey, you know what? It's the holiday time. Last year, we gave every person on the team $1,250 donation in their name and said, hey, you pick the charity. So these are the types of things that I mean by uniting around a mission that's larger than life. All right. Number 2, you need to define exactly who you want. And it's amazing how many people skip this step. Now, I want to use a sculptor as an example. A sculptor does a process of art creation to remove material to reveal something incredible inside. And for us, when we're growing our team, what we need to do is visualize exactly who is a good fit for our company. There are industries to recruit from, which I'll touch on in just a minute, but we need to understand that archetype. Who's the right person for our team? And a really easy way to do that is to profile your top 2 or 3 salespeople and define them. Sometimes it's their age, it's their mindset. A lot of companies are built around, it doesn't really matter to me where and how, but some are faith-based, some are values-focused, others are just like really competitive, others really like a young, lean, fun, aggressive team that really wants to grow together. So getting a really clear picture of like, who is your team made of and who's that really fantastic culture fit? So again, if you don't know who it is you're looking for, you're never going to find them. And in a personal note, I don't know if I have the book. Yeah, right here. This book. By Brian Tracy, Goals, How to Achieve Everything in Life Fast and Never Dream Possible. You can see all the pages that are earmarked here, all my underlining and stuff in this book and what's been highlighted. But at any rate, in this book, I did all the exercises. And I journaled on them. And one of those was writing down who I wanted to find as a wife. And I kid you not, fast forward just a handful of months, and I literally had that exercise printed out and put on my wall. I met my wife. By the way, as of yesterday, we actually just celebrated our 13-year anniversary from our first date. So my point is, you need to know exactly who you're looking for, because that way when they cross your path, boom, you can I can pull the trigger because I know what it is that I'm after. Now, once you know who they are, we move on to step 3, which is hunting for them. And far too many people take a passive approach to recruiting as opposed to an active approach. And of course, we can jump on Indeed, we can run ads, but we want to hunt for them in our daily life. So I want to share with you 9 industries that you can recruit from. By the way, there's far more. Here's just 9 that I found to be really successful at scale. So number 1 is emergency services. This is fire, rescue, EMT. 2 is military and law enforcement. Largely, by the way, let me just explain why on each of these. Emergency services often have thick skin. They've dealt with the public and people. They can handle conflict, high stress situations. They understand the importance of following protocol and systems. Same with military and law enforcement. Okay, students can do really well because many that either dropped out, are trying to make money through school, or recent graduates. You can also categorize recent graduates in there because a lot of those folks are going down a traditional corporate path. They're going to get a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 salary, and they got to work their way up the corporate ladder versus jumping into roofing and being able to out earn everyone else in their class. Okay. Athletes is the 4th one. Why? Because they're competitive by nature. They're generally very disciplined. I know I have a member of RSRA whose almost entire sales team is made up of athletes and coaches, athletic coaches, by the way. Number 5 is customer service roles. Oftentimes, because you can't teach heart. So people that are in customer service roles are really good handling conflict, upset people, and they actually care about folks. And it can be very easy to mold that person into someone who is really strong in sales. Like take their natural talent and just mold in some sales skills with it, and then they become rock stars. Servers and bartenders is a common one, especially recruiting when you're out. I remember being at RoofCon a number of years ago, and I was on a recruiting panel and sales panel. And literally the night before I was at Charlie's Steakhouse, my favorite steakhouse in Orlando, and the server did an incredible job upselling me on a steak, and then I changed my mind, and he literally just sat there silent and stared at me, and I was like, dude, that was good. So I kept the steak. It was fantastic. And later on, at the end of the meal, I said, hey, dude, I was really impressed with your service. What if I could connect you with someone in an industry where you could take these serving skills and earn 6 figures or multi-6 figures? Would you be interested? And he goes, of course I would be. I said, hey, I'll tell you what, if you're interested, all I want you to do is write your contact info on the back of the receipt when you hand it back to me, and I'm going to connect you with someone for an interview. And I ended up connecting him with one of our members for an interview right after that. So that's what I mean by looking for those people in your day-to-day life and then drawing them in. Okay, number 7, door-to-door sales. People that came from solar, pest control, sometimes even window washing, utilities, you name it. There's a lot of sales capabilities in the door-to-door world that didn't have the same earning potential as we do here in roofing. And those folks can be, again, great to recruit. And by the way, if you have people knocking on your doors, yeah, talk to them if they do a good job. Number 8 is sales. This can be sales from all types of different areas. I hired people that were in shoe store sales to cell phone sales, car sales, insurance sales, you name it. Just be mindful that some of those folks do require retraining and reteaching, because our sales process, even though it is sales, is it's a very different animal, especially in the storm restoration world if you're going door to door versus being like in car sales where the need is established and someone shows up. Okay. And then number 9 is teachers. Teachers, I have found time and time again, do so well in the roofing world because they have a servant's heart. And again, we can take their natural teaching and education capabilities. They're really good at following processes. They understand systems and steps, and they're really strong communicators. And then we can, again, mold them into really powerful salespeople. All right. Step number 4, we need to sell the candidate on working for you. Now, this is called prizing. And again, as I shared before, candidates shop around. Just this morning, I keep a pulse on some of the Reddit groups and Facebook groups of what people are talking about in the roofing space. And there's this roofing sales Reddit group. And so often people are like, can you review this job offer? What do you think about this comp plan? And these people are they're cross-shopping the roofing companies. And they're saying like, well, this guy's offering me this and this company's offering me that. And then these people chime in. And sadly, a lot of this advice is terrible. They're not even comparing apples to apples. One guy I remember offered a W-2 position with a near new F-250, dental vision, matching 401k, leads provided. And this dude chimes in, well, that's garbage. I earn 10, 50, 50. And I'm like, you can't compare the two. You're self-generating leads. You're probably running all of production. You're probably but people that don't know the wiser will hear that like, well, on Reddit, they told me that this guy paid more. Well, there's far more than that. So we need to sell people on working for you by showing that your company is the best solution. Okay. Again, this is called prizing. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this by positioning the way that you invest in your people. I know that the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance has become a competitive edge for many. First, we get applicants that are searching for roofing companies, and once they apply, those submissions automatically get posted inside the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance. That's our private app and community, and our members, if they're interested in those people, will reach out. So that's a recruiting advantage, but many new salespeople in the industry who are watching this YouTube channel, when you get to say, hey, we're a member of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance, for example, or we provide training, or we're using Adam's training, we work with Adam in the trenches, this becomes a recruiting advantage if they say, hey, we want to work for you. Now, if you're not a member or anything, we got to look at other ways. So for you, what does that look like in terms of the training you provide, how you invest in the team, what incentives, what lifestyle opportunities do you present? But when it really boils down to is becoming their who. So this was directly influenced by this book by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy called Who Not How. And if you haven't read this as a leader, I highly recommend it. It's actually right on my bookshelf behind me, and an absolute absolutely fantastic read. But here's the premise. What we need to do is find the who's in our business and not think, how can I do it? So I'll give you an example. Instead of saying, how can I make more sales? I think, who can I bring on my team to make more sales for us, right? So for us as a leader, whether it's an owner or manager, we need to find the right who's to build our team and not think how. But for the who that we hire, they need a who too, because the who's that we hire are helping us achieve our dreams and our goals. But for a healthy relationship, we need to be the hero for them. They need a who. Who can help me achieve my goal? So as a leader, we need to position ourselves like people work for us for one reason. What's in it for me? How can I make my life better? How can I earn more money, feel more fulfilled, and provide for my family? And if you do that and actually mean it, this is a way of prizing that people will want to work for you and not even leave. Okay? All right. Number 5. Step number 5 is to identify your sales rep's income goal and create a daily sales plan. You'll notice I put on here, you have to get the spouse on board. Oftentimes when we sit and tell a sales rep that they can earn 6 figures or multi-6 figures with no experience necessary, no sales experience, we'll teach you everything, this doesn't sound legitimate. I want to ask you, when you found out about the business, did you think the earning potential was real? I know I did. I was skeptical. I was like, yeah, all these ads say earn 6 figures, earn multi-6 figures. Like, it doesn't sound real. And when the spouse goes home to their significant other and they say, hey, honey, I'm taking this new job. It's commission only or heavy based in commission. And they said I could earn all this money. And the spouse is sitting there like, if this was so real, why isn't everybody doing it? And it's a valid concern, which is why what we need to do is create an income goal and a daily sales plan. This is just a little snippet of mine. It is a calculator that I include in my system for our members of RSRA, and the fields in green are editable. So the sales rep will identify their baseline income needs, their income goal, and their stretch goal. And we can enter those numbers in, enter in an average commission, and it will spell out a plan. Now, it's really easy to figure out, well, what do I need to do in order to sell, in order to earn $100,000? Oh, you got to sell 100 roofs. Okay, cool. Well, the next question is, well, how do I sell those? And that's where that sample daily plan comes into play, which you can see at the bottom of this spreadsheet. It gives them rough metrics of what they need to do every day, which allows you as the leader to hold them accountable to these activities. So when you fill this out with the rep, now the rep can go home to their spouse or significant other and say, hey, honey, they offered me this position. This is the comp plan. This is how it comes to life. Look, all I have to do is make 1 sale, 2 sales, 3 sales every so-and-so, whatever day, week. And here's the exact plan. They're going to give me all the training. And I talked to some of the people on their team that have already done this before. Now this becomes believable and not a pipe dream. All right, step number 6. We need to tap into their ultimate motivation and discover their why. So many people fail to do this because many people get lured into roofing because of the earning potential, as I think we all do. I know I did. I fell into it because I was pursuing my passion. I was working in the natural medicine world as a massage therapist, making under $20,000 a year, living on literally $4.20 a day in groceries, and I needed to make a change. And when I found roofing, I got into it. My motivation was I need to make money. And that motivation, once you start making money, it dwindles. So we need to find a deeper why. And I want to just tell you, this is a true story. I was speaking to a company in Denver, and I asked people, like, how much money do you want to make? And this one guy says, I want to make $400,000. I was like, man, that was really specific. He said, well, why is that? And he said, well, because I want to provide an opportunity for my kids, get a house, and put them through college. And I was like, yeah, well, why is that so important to you? And as soon as he answered, he goes, because my parents made a huge sacrifice. They were immigrants in the US. I didn't have these opportunities, and it's so important for me to provide those opportunities for my kids. But above all, I really want to start a nonprofit soccer league because traveling soccer is expensive, and kids, I think it's such a healthy outlet. I loved playing soccer as a kid, and I want to start a league where I can support children who don't have the financial means to play traveling soccer. And like that level of why, like supporting the family and giving them opportunities and starting a nonprofit league, is so much more powerful than, which is another true story. This was at Roofing Process Conference about 2 years ago. This guy said that he wanted to make this obscene amount of money. And I said, why is that? And he goes, oh, because I've never made that much before. And I said, well, how much is the most you've ever made? And he was like, 60,000. And I'm like, 60,000 to near $500,000. That's it? Like, you want to, by the way, I ran into him again. Do you think he made the money? The answer is no. So we have to tap into their why. So I just want to get a little bit deeper into the psychology from a leadership standpoint of what this means. Now, self-expansion theory is our core human motivation to enhance our efficacy, which, by the way, is our ability to produce results, and confidence. So our core human motivation is to get good at what we do and feel confident. And again, producing results is just being competent, being good at what we do. That's like a core nature. So if we can support people's core nature to get good at what they do and be confident, because again, competence breeds confidence. In other words, you get good at something, you become confident. So we have to support our team in doing that. And there are three kind of levels of why. And I want to share this in a story with you. I read this recently and it really inspired me. So someone that is focused on money, let's just use someone who lays bricks as an example. You ask a bricklayer who's focused on money, what do they do? And they say, I work really hard laying bricks to feed my family. Okay. Then you find someone who is achievement oriented. The achievement oriented bricklayer, you say, hey, what do you do for a living? He says, I work really hard laying bricks to build a wall. Okay. So they're achievement focused. And then we have purpose-driven leaders. Purpose-driven people. Say, the bricklayer, hey, what do you do for a living? I work really hard laying bricks to build a house for the Almighty. Okay. You see the difference. They're all doing the same thing of laying bricks. One's doing it for money. One's doing it for achievement. One's doing it for purpose. By the way, these pictures are just from some folks on our team. Matt on the left is our VP of sales. Kennedy in the center is in charge of all of our application calls and helping our members get set up. John on our team's been with me from the beginning. He handles all of our tech and all of our marketing. And it's been just so phenomenal watching their journey through this progression as both Matt and John have grown their families, and Kennedy has grown as an incredible human on our team, going from money focused to achievement to purpose driven. And our goal is to support our team through that journey. All right. Step number 7, we need to set the standard or raise it. Now, what do we mean? How often have I heard this? Maybe this is happening to you. You say, hey, my team's they're getting lazy. How do I keep them consistent? They don't want to go on Saturdays. How do I get everyone knocking doors? So-and-so is lazy. It happens. And this is a result of what's called the Pygmalion effect. And this is the rising or falling of the expectations of others around us. So in other words, if we are in an environment where we are wildly competitive and hold everyone to a really high standard, naturally that standard will rise. But at the same time, if the standard that you accept is of mediocrity, if the majority of your team doesn't have discipline, isn't competitive, doesn't have drive, everybody else will lower to that. That's the Pygmalion effect. Very commonly, I believe it was Jim Rohn says you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. By the way, if I misquoted that, please put a comment beneath. So the point is you will get what you tolerate. I've been guilty of this myself. Not so much anymore. I hold our team to a very, very, very high standard, as I hold myself to. And it's been an absolute beautiful and rewarding journey watching the team rise to this level of expectation that we have. And we've all grown personally. We actually just got back from our first company retreat at Amelia Island. We spent 2.5 days together, and it was phenomenal. I felt the entire tide rise, so to speak, for our team. Now, it is your job to protect the team and fire when you need to, because everybody needs to be on the boat rowing in the same direction. This is not easy, but we have to remember, you have to protect the team. If you have one weak link and you have a team of A players or aspiring A players and someone's doing a B performance or B plus, they're still good, but they're not great. And if you want great, you have to let them go. I have had to make difficult decisions. I have had to terminate people on our team because they were not performing at the level in which they needed to be rowing in the same direction as everybody else. And I know it's hard when they don't see it the way you do. I lose sleep at night over this stuff. But at the end of the day, we have to protect the team. Okay. It's also our moral responsibility. And I shared this story in the beginning. I learned this lesson after I let that failing sales rep's life self-destruct. I still feel, it says I'm to blame because I feel that weight on my shoulders, that if I had said to him in the beginning, man, I can't have you on the team because you're just not cutting it. And if I let you stay here, you're going to put yourself in a terrible position. I knew it and he knew it. And that's when I learned the very valuable lesson that like so many people say, hey, throw mud at the wall, see what sticks, bring in a lot of people. They cost me nothing if they're commission only. It's not right. We're gambling with people's livelihoods. Sometimes they'll bet on themselves more than they should, and they'll get themselves into a bad situation. And we don't need to do this solely to protect them. However, we know that our moral responsibility is to raise the standard, hold everyone accountable, and say, hey, if you're on our level, you should be doing X. And by the way, we did in RSRA, Jonathan Bensman, who runs a really unique company called whohire.com. They do recruiting via AI and screen applicants and bring them in for you. You can go check them out at whohire.com. But Jonathan's involved with RSRA, and we did a session on a live hiring ad critique. So we had our members bring in their hiring ads, and we reviewed them and then provided a real critique. We shared our screen. We rewrote the ads. We used Hemingway app, which if you can, it's not an actual app. It's a hemingwayapp.com to write the ad with simpler terms, and it shows you how to do that. And Jonathan shared this really fantastic advice. He says, you should earn X or you will no longer work here. And that sets the standard out of the gate. They're like, we're going to give you everything you need to succeed. And if you're a good fit, this is what you'll earn. And there's just no tolerance for folks that will earn less than that. So that's what I mean by it's your moral responsibility. Okay. Here is a just example. I shared in our team chat on Slack that I let one of our people go. And the reason is, as you can see it here, it said our team is full of rock star A players, and I'm not willing to compromise on those values. And by the way, we have since replaced this person and have an A+ player on our team as a result of it. And like I said, they were doing a good job, just not a great job. So why settle for good if you can have great? All right, step number 8, hold everyone accountable. This is a huge pain point, and so many people struggle with accountability. So I want to give you a few tips. First, daily group accountability. I learned this one, by the way, from Cody Landell's fellow mentor inside the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance. It completely changed our business, especially running a remote team. But I know that running a roofing sales team is almost like having a remote company, because your salespeople, they don't check in the office every day. They're out in the field. So we have very limited visibility. Sometimes we don't know who's working, who's sleeping in, who's hungover. So what we do, and I'm just going to go through this starting at the bottom. You see where it says WIG. That's a wildly important goal for the day. You will see who's up and who's at it by them posting the thing that they can control. So for example, the WIG isn't, I made 2 sales. You can't control if someone buys from you. But let's say the thing that you're working on to close, say, hey, today my intention is to, on all 4 of my appointments, ask for the business and then overcome any objections 3 times before leaving the house. So that's a very specific thing that you can control. So that'd be the WIG. When you start seeing that there's that person on your team that is tuning in late, you're like, well, wait a minute. Everyone else is getting a jump start on their day. You're either forgetting to do this or late. Like, you start to understand who's working and who's not. Next, I'm going to jump up to where it says sales. Okay. That sales channel is where everyone on the team is responsible for posting their numbers. What you can post is the following: the number of new self-generated leads, if they're responsible, if not, ignore, their total sales in a dollar amount value, their number of customers. Okay. Now, when you track that, you know who's working and who's not. If someone's posted like 0, and by the way, you could also even post, if you wanted to, if you're a heavy door knocking team, number of doors knocked. Now, everyone has this group accountability. Sales reps have gotten mad and you're like, you're micromanaging. No, we're not. What gets measured gets managed. We should thrive under pressure. If I know the team's watching, I'm going to perform at a better clip. This has been studied. There's a book it's on my bookshelf just off here called Invisible Influence. Really good read, by the way. And the author talks about the phenomenon that if you go out for a jog on your own, you'll jog at, let's say the pace is set here. But the minute you see other people, even if you're not running with them, even if you're not chasing them, you begin to push yourself to run faster in the observance of others. And I caught myself as a mountain biker doing this. I go out on my own. I love finding trails where people aren't there, and I just do an easy pace. But the minute I'm on a trail with people, I like unconsciously am pushing it harder. I want to catch up with them. I don't want people to pass me and even think through it. So the point is this accountability actually creates that competitive culture and drive, and you know who's working and who's not. Okay. And then the last thing is the weekly reports. This is something that we do where everyone reflects back on their week, what they did well. This isn't like a to-do, like a reflection of here's what I did. It's like the soft skills. How did this week go? I did a great job overcoming objections. I did a great job observing body language and sending body language signals. I did a great job on my follow-up, all that stuff. My presentation was real smooth. What can I do better next week? Hey, you know what? My time management wasn't really really great. My focus wasn't quite there. I really missed my workouts this week, which screwed up my mindset. And then we create a plan. So what I do well, what I could do better, and then my plan for next week. We'll take one of the things that we can make better and turn it into a plan for the following week, which could be, I'm going to start every day doing my workout. And yeah, you notice that's personal. It's not work related, but it all marries together. Or it could be, hey, I'm going to plan my day in advance the night before and on Sunday for the entire week. So that's an example of using this daily group accountability. And the next thing here before we start wrapping up on number 9 is repetitions. We have to have sales practice. Many people call it role play in IT. They say role plays for the bedroom. Sales practice is what professional salespeople do. Here's some of my folks actually using, you can even see the printout of the SLAP formula from our program in there. They're doing the role play in the office, and we get those repetitions in. So when you're out in the real world, it's not a mystery. Now, finally, I want to share with you, this is the actual one-on-one coaching agenda that I created. I use this with my team. I'm going to let you go through this. If you want, screenshot it. It says, if you were to rate your last 30 days of performance against your ideal best self on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it? And the reason I ask that is to get the person self-reflecting on my ideal self compared to their, how am I doing? And this self-reflection helps them begin to coach themselves. And now I'm going to ask them for their own grade first. Okay. Followed by, what's your greatest strength right now? How are you going to reinforce it? What's your greatest weakness right now? And how are you going to conquer your weakness? What's the plan? Next question. Are you on track to hit your personal income goal? Remember that spreadsheet I shared before? We can reference that. If they are, move on. If they're not, what do you need to do to get back on track, and how can I help you? And then we're going to get into some personal stuff. What's your number one personal goal this month? And then we're going to challenge that person. What are the 3 steps you're going to take to make it happen? In an ideal world, you'd write these down and support the team through doing it. Okay. How can I or the team help make it happen? And then we do the same thing for professional. What's your number one professional goal this month? And a lot of people, you'll notice when you start coaching salespeople, they'll say, oh, it's to close more. Well, what does that mean? You're closing at, let's say, 33%. What does more mean? 34 or 45 or 50? And then when you say, what are 3 steps you're going to take to make it happen? This is where people bobble. They're like, I'm just going to work hard. No, I want steps. Step 1, I'm going to go through the complete closing strategy and study the car park formula. 2, I'm going to take RSRA's done for you presentation, and I'm going to study it and do some role play and practice. Step 3, I'm going to monitor my close rate every single day or week and be able to adjust and modify as we go. And then again, that's forcing them to start thinking more granular, and how can I or the team help make it happen? So this agenda can really help when you set up those one-on-ones with your team to really help elevate them to the next level. All right. And step number 9 to wrap this up is to have the hard conversations head on. I know that these can be tough. Sometimes we need to re-upright the ship, but I want to share a story with you. There was someone on our team. This is a picture they sent me, that we had a difficult conversation that was a pivotal point, that if they continued down that path, it was going to mean that we'd have to part ways. And I was and still am completely blown away on how they completely pivoted. We have a watch bonus for our team at a certain milestone, and here they are receiving it. And it was amazing to hit that conversation head on and say, there's one of 2 paths. If this continues, we're going to part ways. If it's not, I'm going to give you everything I've got. And my rule is that I will give someone everything I've got as long as they match me and give me everything they've got. If it's an even Stevens street, I'm all in. And the result was this. And they've been an incredible, incredible team member. This, by the way, is current. So your assignment is to 1, define your mission. 2, define exactly who you want on your team. It's amazing how many people don't do that. So please make sure to write that down in your journal. 3, hunt for them. 4, sell them on working for you. 5, remember to set up their income goal, turn it into a daily sales plan to help get the spouse on board and to hold them accountable. Next, discover their why, their real purpose. Set the standard, which is number 7. 8, hold everyone accountable using group accountability. And number 9, have the hard conversations. Hey, thanks for joining me in this video. If you're a leader and maybe you're wondering, like, do I have the right people on my team? Jump into this video next, and I'll teach you who to hire, who to fire, and why. We'll see you soon.